Malaysia Airlines, which was already in the red prior to the two aviation disasters, is still struggling to rebound after the MH370 and MH17 incidents. MH17, which was shot down over Ukraine, raised safety concerns about flying over war zones. MH370, the flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, which disappeared without a trace, was an unprecedented aviation disaster, which led to calls for new aircraft tracking technology, says Greg Waldron, the Asia managing editor at Flight Global.
These are very out of the routine incidents. But, what you're seeing is more calls for flight tracking. These were started up when AF447 crashed a few years ago. It took them a very long time to find the flight data and cockpit voice recorders. And now, of course, they're searching for the flight recorders of MH370. And despite months of searching and countless millions of dollars, they still haven't found anything. So you're going to see probably increased focus in the future on better technologies in terms of tracking flights and as well as locating aircraft that have crashed in the water, especially since you have more planes flying these long routes over water these days.
On top of safety concerns, airlines in the region also had to grapple with political unrest in Thailand earlier this year, which hurt tourist arrivals into Southeast Asia, and that's according to DBS Vickers analyst Paul Yong.
For much of the year, the sector was faced with excess capacity amid a weak demand environment. In particular, the political situation in Thailand played a huge part in slower tourism sector performance in ASEAN and even affecting neighbouring markets like Singapore and Malaysia. As a result, passenger yields have actually been consistently under pressure this year.
Moving towards the end of 2014, airlines are finally seeing brighter skies. In a report earlier this month, global airline body IATA says global passenger traffic has been on the rise, with October numbers growing at a faster pace compared to September. Next year, IATA predicts passenger traffic to grow by 7%, which is well above the 5.5% growth trend of the past 2 decades. This is on the back of lower oil prices, which have fallen sharply by about 50% since June. Airlines will see lower fuel costs, which constitutes about 30% of their total costs. Brian Pierce, who is IATA's chief economist, says travellers and shippers should enjoy a roughly 5% reduction in ticket prices and aviation costs in 2015.
It's a really competitive industry, and so typically what we see is any change in costs gets fairly quickly reflected in the prices that travellers and shippers pay. So we'd expect to see, after inflation, we'd expect to see the cost of air travel falling perhaps by 5% in 2015.
Global airlines will likely see a stronger set of earnings next year on falling oil prices. IATA expects the industry to post a collective global net profit of $25 billion in 2015, up from nearly $20 billion this year. However, analysts warn that any slowdown in the global economy could make 2015 a challenging year for the sector. This report was filed by Julie Quek.